Now my microphone is on. Hello everyone. I'm very glad and proud to be here with you because this is a fantastic gathering of philosophers from entire world, and because it's a pleasure and honor for me to give you some of my experience, of my thought during this pandemic, and some experience that I had is philosophical practice in this period. I am Antonio Sandu. I'm from Romania. I'm a PhD professor at Ștefan cel Mare University from Suceava, Romania, and I teach there ethics, sociology, and mainly applied to ethics, and and bioethics. So I'm in the field of ethics, but my interest is from 11 years. I'm interested in philosophical counseling and philosophical practice because I am also graduate in social work. So I always think counseling is not necessary psychological one, and neither psychiatric only. It's more important to have existential answers to existential questions from the people. And this time, this pandemic time, have raised many existential questions to the people. First of all, we notice the medicalization of social life. We notice the medicalization of the society. Society practically represents the effect of what we could call risk society. And the fact that society is more easily aware of the various risks that individuals feel threatened about. Sometimes the idea of medicalization, the human condition, is reached, which is nothing more than treatable disorder, and many of us start to believe that to be human is treatable. But if we cannot be human, and if we treat our condition, what can we be? So the philosophers are welcome to give an answer what is treatable and what is necessary in being human. And in this time, to be human, to be afraid of dying, afraid of being isolated, afraid of being locked down, and social distancing, so many things that were unusual and still are unusual for human conditions, but to evoke the limit of human conditions. In these days, a pandemic caused the whole society to be restricted, social activity to be shrinked, and to talk about social distancing. What could social distancing mean if we as human to be close connected, and this our learn from our history to be connect each other, to be gathering, but now we have to distance from each other. It is possible in the context in which we are talking about what we say medicalized society. Well, the effort for public health prevails over the economic, social development, and so on, and most of all it prevails on human condition. We're afraid, but this afraid is something that we always do. Heidegger says, well, to be human is sometimes to have anguish, to have fears, and so on. I quote Oscar Brennifer for a wonderful speech he gave in this period, and we say, well, why are we afraid? We're afraid to die. Can we avoid to die? Can we do something not to die? Well, if we can do, then we should not worry, but do what is important to be done in order to not to die. If we not we can we not avoid that, we can fight, but we still in dire conditions, so we are not gods. We die after all. So as human, we die after all. So the fear is natural, but is not necessary to be afraid and to be afraid, and this overcome us as a person. Answering the concerns about the crisis of the philosophy as public adherence to traditional fields of philosophy, some philosophers considers that academic discourse is no longer important for philosophy because in our time philosophy is important to be in the practice field, not only in the our tower that nobody understands. So it's in other times that Kant have or Hegel have, is sometimes maybe closer to Socrates period, where the philosophers came into agora and asked questions. So it's what we as practitioner philosopher should do, but agora is no longer accessible because of COVID-19. So we don't have an agora anymore, but we have a new kind of agora. A new kind of agora is virtual agora. It's some place without space. It's some place that is not in physical space. So COVID or other germs could not affect us in virtual, but other viruses still affect us, and most of all our own fears come there with us, and is with us now. We can move our practice from real space to virtual space, but we should adapt not only the practice, because many philosophical practitioners already done online consultations and online trainings and online groups and so on. That's nothing. There's nothing new. But new is that our society move forward to what I usually to call virtualization of social spaces. Why virtualization of social spaces? Because many social interaction are going online. Because physically are forbidden. So in March or April were forbidden. In Romania is not so close now, but we went through this close all activities and practices. So we started this phenomena of virtualization of social spaces for many years, for 10 years, or 11 or more, where the social interaction are mainly doing in virtual space, in virtual reality. But since now we have accelerated this kind of interaction. Education move virtual, work move to virtual in so many cases. Even church go to virtual, and in Orthodox here in Romania, and I think also in Russia, there was not access directly to the church, but the religious service were done on internet, and a lot of people take part in the religious services online. So what kind of new society, of new life, of new social interaction are coming from this period, and what will happen in the future? So we, at least me as a philosophical practitioner, I try to wonder what is new, because I start to feel another kind of human being, a human being that are not strictly person lies on my physical location. I'm everywhere. I can be here in my hometown and be also there with you in Moscow and everywhere in the world, because you're not all of you in Moscow. You're in India, in Israel, and United States, or wherever. So I'm virtual ubiquitous. I'm everywhere, but nowhere in physical. So because physically I was more restrained, my physical body cannot move so much. I cannot go to visit Moscow now because it's not allowed. I cannot go to visit India as I please. So, but I can speak with you and I can interact with you in some extended reality. But this extended reality changed something in how I feel and how I perceive me as a limited being, and I could perceive me as entity that are going to another dimension of space and time. So this requires a new philosophical interpretation. And why? Because I'm no longer feel a person that are limited to his own corporality. I'm more limited of my technological corporality. My laptop, my camera are part of me because I can express myself through this device. So I extend my corporality in virtual reality, and that's need a new philosophical understanding. So about this was my philosophical practice, and about medicalization of social life in this period. So I try to counsel, and I try to give some philosophical virtual cafe. There was about virtual philosophical cafe I wrote some times ago on related to virtualization of social spaces, but now I developed 3 or 4 virtual philosophical cafe here in Romania with people affected by coronavirus, and with have relatives, have close friends and families that were ill and sick on coronavirus, because I teach and I have some activities in Suceava, the place where in Romania was the most cases of infection in the whole country. Too much more from different areas of the country. So there was need of not only a psychological counseling to clarify how to deal with the fear, how to deal with afraid, how to deal with this medicalization of social life, but how philosophically understanding this turn on to a new challenges that medicalization of social life and virtualization of social interaction give to us in the time of pandemics, where world, external world could close to us, and a world that is virtual, a world that does not exist in physical reality, come to us and even oppress us, because virtual now can oppress, but virtual does not physically exist, does not have corporality, but we can feel as avatar identity, and this, how to create an avatar identity and how to deal with as our identity is something I do with people who want to understand this in philosophical practice, and that's why I like to share this with you, because it's something was something amazing for me, because many people says, well, I'm in the new reality, I'm in another era of humanity. It's not about transhumanism or posthumanism, but it's closer to is humanity 2.0 already, because I could not interact because of coronavirus in real life, but I could interact with total strangers for me that I never encountered in other way, and this they ask, how can I do with in this situation? How can I be human? What means for me to be human? And of course, Socratic dialogue could exist in this condition, and through Socratic dialogue, I can raise questions about how they understand his own identity. What is own identity? What is else? Okay, as an avatar identity, I quote from other presentation, but in general I talk with the clients about what is to be real. Am I only a body? Am I a body and mind? Am I something different than a body and mind? So this are together with spirituality, but basically I need philosophical understanding of this, because a religious understanding could drive to an opening of difficult situation for people, and because access to religious practice are restricted, and virtual Easter occur, and we celebrate Easter on virtual reality on TV and so on, but is that real? I have too many people ask me what I'm seeing, what I'm answering, what I'm hearing is this me? Is this my reality? How could we deal with extended reality? The reality we live on is too far extended as the reality of Socrates or as the reality of Kant, because we have access to purely mind that created reality. It's reality where we interact and we live in, because most of us already live in Facebook or YouTube or something like this in virtual reality, but do they still live in our reality, in current reality? And of course I try to understand for myself and with my clients together, is it important for us to be in current reality? What is different? How we understand our mortality, our finitude. Of course, I entered into transmodern and transhumanist debate on how we can acquire virtual immortality through mind download and mind transfer to some devices. It's not immediate reality in this COVID-19 crisis, but it was evoked from this restricted of external world. And other problem that was important to counsel was how to wear a mask, because mask was a symbol of the person who are bad. They steal, they commit murder and so on, and they wear mask. But now everyone should wearing mask, and this limit our face-to-face encountering with each other. How to encounter the other if I and him and his wearing both we are both wearing a mask. So we are not share our identity. We are not share our express our feelings through our face, through our face image. How can this affect, and what we can do not to affect our encountering with the other as the reflection of ourselves, together as reflection of the world. So this was the general questions I answering in virtual PhiloCafe and in individual counseling that I do, and how I conduct these workshops, of course, online. So the answer was including philosophy moves online, and is this the end of the world we knew, as we knew? Is the end of history, as other philosophers said? Is it the end of history, or of the world as we previously know, and is a new beginning for another humanity? Well, this philosophical questions was very important for my friends, for my colleagues, and for my clients, to understand where are they in this new world and in this new reality, how we reconnect each other, how we reconnect with our own reality. So the answers was few practice derived from spiritual and from meditative practice, to try to reconnect with our inner reality, our inner philosopher, if you like, and through guided meditation, guided dream states, and also through asking questions about present moment, to be in the present, to understand what is a real me in this new environment of technology. What is real me, and how can we do? We meditate on what is important for us. I wrote for a few papers on appreciative philosophical counseling. I will not present this again. You can find it in the Journal of APPA. But generally, it's about to understand what gives us meaning to live. It is about appreciative philosophical practices to reflect on what is that things that give us the feeling of being alive, a feeling of being important, a feeling of being a person, a feeling of being something more than nothing, or to have rights to live, to have right to be different, and so on. So basically, I just make a questions. What is to be me? And I'm receiving some answers through the persons. The persons. There was I repeat. There was in one And in one city there was very affected to this coronavirus, one of the most affected in this country, in Romania, and they answered this, well, I was afraid. I was very much afraid, but in this moment of afraid, I realized that I'm together with the others, even in virtual reality. And the feeling of togetherness was one of the answers, of course. The feeling of togetherness gives the strength to be myself. And togetherness could be achieved even if there is no physical contact, but only virtual. So togetherness can be virtual, can be virtualized. And otherwise, other answers was religious experience, moved from churches of walls, of bricks, to interior church, to internalize the connection with supreme reality, with God or other way of understanding divinity, and we share the feelings of being part of divinity, being part of something more than limited life. So this being part of more than a limited life is also a virtualization. And they say, but all human history, there was another answer that I received, that I give to practitioners, that in whole history of humanity we live in virtual reality, not in the real. And there was an example of the movie, the Englishman who climbed a hill and gave down on mountains. It's about a town in Scotland, in Wales, in Great Britain. The people living there, all they believes that they are mountain men, Highlanders. So when people from London, from Geographical Society of London, go there to measure the highest, the high of the forms of relief they have there, they find out that there is no mountains, there's only a hill there. How could they be a mountain man if there is no mountain? So all our reality or our identity was a social construct. For them, they construct their own reality as a mountain man upon a form of relief they live, gather to near to this form of relief. They believe that are mountains, but actually was downgrades to a hill. But who established what is mountain, what a hill is? That was established in communications. In the communication process, some people establish what the definition of the hill is, or the definition of mountain is. In general, what the definition of what is real, what is an object, the definition are, and we live in a virtual world where we understand the definition of what is it. So this idea, of course, came from Plato, but it's close to our current understanding of the social construction. So this was a dialogue that I practice in one of our philosophical cafe in this period, and people understand and discuss about how they construct their own reality, and a preferred reality, their own idea of what them are and what are the finitude, and what they are angst. Why are they angst? And why they are angst? Are they angst of dying, of being sick, or of the change, the too rapid, too fast changes in how we live and why, and meaningless of this situation, because COVID-19 crisis is more a crisis of meaning. It's a meaningless of what we understand about us. It's a crisis of ethics in self. I wrote a book. It's in Romanian now, but it will be in English at the end of August. Bioethics in Crisis, or Crisis of Bioethics, an anthropology of pandemia in medicalized society. I discussed there the results of this philosophical practice with starting from bioethical discussions of what is health ethics, what how could be understanding ethics, and what we can do if we are put into a situation to decide what life worth to believe and what life doesn't worth to believe, especially when medical personnel should choose between the person to be put into life support or to be disconnecting from the device of life support, and who is to choose. It's supposed to be an autonomous decision, but who can decide this in the lack of technology, in the lack of this device? So medical staff should take this decision. It's not necessarily an ethical decision, but they could understand philosophically what are the significance of the decision for their own or for their patients. So this was also a subject to one of our virtual philosophical cafe organized in Suceava University with some people that actually participate there, medical staff, and discuss also with that medical staff about the significance of what means for them to give treatment, to treat others. This virtual philosophical cafe, starting from the idea of what is significance for us of the event we live in, and we try to understand what is the situation we are living in, how can we deal with, how can internalize the situation, and how we manifest in this situation. And what I try to, as moderator of philosophical cafe, virtual philosophical cafe, was to drive the discussion from crying and for their own problems and shout their own problems to the significance of the problem and how to understand this problem, how to understand the situation, and how to react, not emotional react, but how reasonable react to this situation, and how could understand and how could internalize this reaction, what the significance they give to the situation. And of course most of significance have a real philosophical meaning, because was in terms of our finitude toward the universe, and understanding this finitude and understanding the limitless of the universe, but understanding our progress as society, as an individual, and the need to situate ourselves in a position that we can grow from this position. So that was the results of that discussions. I think that was what I wish to share with you. So if you have questions, so I was not so clear, or have any curiosity or so on, please ask questions and discuss about my idea. The idea was presented, and about what you do in this period and what was the topics of your own experience in counseling the persons that was affected by the coronavirus crisis. Of course, myself, I'm also a teacher and professor, so I teach in this period. But I try to change the way of I usually teach. I use some experience of philosophical practice in teaching activity, and now I go on online on Facebook and on YouTube and in live discussion with also with the student and to many other peoples, and to not to to give a lecture, to present something at a lesson, but to reflect of the significance of pandemic, significance of war, of how this pandemic affect us, and that was the changing in my own way to teach bioethics, for example. And this semester I was a class of bioethics and the significance of ethics. And I have two questions, two remarks on the chat. Mr. Hatzeganu, thank you to my colleagues for presentation. I think the pandemic state can offer a new step for us to discover and find a new place for practice in online agora. To meet the client or group we must try. Yes, online agora is very important now, because in this agora was moved too many energy, too many influencers, and the people who try to disconnect people. Too many conspirational theory are going to agora. Too many persons, they are haters, and their voice go to hate each other, to destroy the connection, and to destroy the unity of the society. So our philosophical voice should be there in agora, in virtual agora, also, because there are people who need us and who cannot contact us in our usual office, in our philosophical cabinet or something, but they could contact us on virtual, not only because they are not in our town, in our city, and they are globally, and we can counsel on worldwide, not only in local population, but all wide, but because some people does not dare to go to a philosopher consultation. At least I encountered this situation where a person said, "I'm not go to philosopher. Philosopher is too much for me. I'm going to ask a priest or a psychologist, but not a philosopher, because a philosopher is too much for me." And in virtual agora, they could ask, because they are feel not themselves, but transfer their identity to their avatars, and they are not themselves, and they represent themselves as avatar, and avatar is not tangible, is not affected, but about the dialogue. So they could easily, for some of them, they could easily react and share their problem and share their emotion, but most of all share their inner questions, the inner troubles, the inner fears. Another question: during the pandemic, virtual interaction has given us an opportunity to do something constructive as well as stay balanced and avoid stress. Well, of course, virtual interaction give us the strength to stay balanced. It's more important to stay balanced, but to avoid stress, I think it's more stress. It's more stressing in virtual interaction when we are not seeing each other as face, when we are not using our corporality that we are used to, that we usually see in each other. We express our corporality, our way of being. But moving to virtual, change our way to express ourselves, our way to think about ourselves. So it's a lot of stress in this situation. So that's why we and they need more philosophical counseling than before. Well, yeah, I personally think that uh, starting with this phenomena of virtualization of social interaction, or virtualization of social space and social time, uh, starting with this virtualization, the boundary between private life and public life is became very subtle. So there was an invasion of public life into our personal life, but this was not happening in this time, as in this pandemic time. It was happening before. It was happening when we start to put our lives on Facebook. It starts when we express ourselves on and our reality on a virtual space where everyone can control us and can have opinion about my private life. So this was not a new, but is a serious problem. How to manage to balance this life, the private life to public life. Some of us tends to move to all of life to be public. Some of us have this tendency to put all public. There is no private life, and there is nothing like this. But some of them wants to remain private, at least some basically things about their lives and times, and have time to go to somewhere, someplace in vacation, have time to sleep, or something like this. But I have done a research on the values and how we react to the values, and in our country, in our part of the country, Northeast Romanian, I observed that there are an imperialism of public values of public values through private values, and we try to import the values from public sphere to our private. So in our private sphere, we have to for example, to love our neighbor, to love each other, and so on. But in public sphere, we have to be equitable. We have to be fair. So we try to go to give more importance to fairness than to chairs and to love and to our private values. Our public values goes against our private values, and our public life was imperialistic to all of our time. So yes, this will be more and more this problem, and will be and we should can counseling clients on this problem, how to balance their experience on public life and on private life, and especially in this pandemic time, on all time was both public and private, because we go on our private homes, we stay home. So our president of Romania says, stay home, don't go anywhere, stay home. But at home we have to work. We came in home with our work problems. We teach at home. We make business at home. We make affairs, and all of them comes in our private life. So that was also a problem. Yes, another was questions in the chat room. I don't know the name because it's in Russian. I like the idea of virtual agora because it represents memories from time when in some society people wasn't able to practice religion, philosophy, material arts, and so on, and they always find a secret place to do it. Virtual Agora can also reach people who might not get an opportunity to be part. Yes, Virtual Agora could understand also a place for retreat. I always treat the Virtual Agora as also a place to where to retreat ourselves from life, and so this again the distinction with private life and public life. We can retreat in we can retreat ourselves in Agora too, and be simultaneously in public and in private. For example, in a session of meditation or in Buddhist empowerment, I had participate in this weekend to a Buddhist empowerment in Kalachakra, for example. They were given from Hong Kong and I received from Romania, but it was a retreat, and I feel to be retreated with other colleagues and so on. So it's another dimension of space. Gargi Jen, however, the uncertainty is having an adverse effect on many. Yes, uncertainty is a problem that having affect all of us, and uncertainty is not only because we face the fear of death, the fear of sickness, but we are uncertain of economical future, or how we what we do after the crisis. Could we still have a place to work? Still we have a democratic society? Because this restriction could be continuous a lot of time, and the democratic society falls apart. So this is many uncertainty, and we should deal with it. So yes, it was important. It is important topics for philosophical counseling, but it's important now after the first part of coronavirus crisis was over, and is now in this the second, we say in Romania, the second wave of coronavirus that is something in some way bigger than the first one. We talk about the balance in life. So retreat and meditation is one part of the balance, and be active is the other part of the balance. I prefer to be active, and I want to be active as many times as I can. But also I have to experience something new, something different, to feel the experience of otherness as in cultural way, as Buddhist, since I am a Christian, and to understand how they really are, the Buddhist, and how am I in face to this cultural differences. But to this point, I think there is an extraordinary opportunity for philosophical practice, this to counsel in ethical dilemma. To counsel, as I told you, on medical ethics, on medical ethical dilemma, not on bioethics in itself, but on how bioethics change in this crisis situation, how this ethics could adapt. So the philosopher should intervene there, because medical ethics, bioethics, was made by practitioners in medicine, for example, but now they should come, and they do. Some medical people come to us, to philosophers, and how we can do this, how we made the new changes in what is ethical, how we deal with this dilemma. If we cannot give the access and so on, how we can deal with this uncertainty. Can we have one opinion? No. How we deal with different opinion, how we deal with a different solution, competitive solution, because for me a dilemma is competition of values. So if I am in the competition of value, two values that I have to choose, how I choose the most important values, since all values are important for me, as I present, public values and private values are both important for me. Why I choose why I choose public values over my own values? But I discovered that for persons in my region, in Romania, most of them choose public values against their own family values. Why and how to choose? This is for philosophical practice a place to practice. When I say meaningful or meaninglessness, it's not about, well, the coronavirus crisis has no meaning. No, I say we can attach a meaning. We can give a sense, give a meaning to our reality. We can construct our reality. We can deal with the meaning. I am a constructionist, so I do believe that our meaning is social constructed. But when we cannot understand our purpose, our meaning in the situation, and we are in the crisis, it's like a Zen koan, when we have no answer, have no predetermined answer, how we react at this. The whole world was in a koan, in a Zen koan. We cannot react in a classic way. We cannot have an answer. We do not have a previous pre-think answer. So it's meaninglessness, because we should invent new meanings. We should reinvent ourselves. We should rediscover, and this is philosophical. This is a philosophical point we address in philosophical way, because we do not have scientific, we do not have political, we do not have medical in many situations answers. We should return to our philosophical answers. So yes, it could be metaphysical if we ask about what is transcendence and so on. It should be ethical also, because we have to answer how we do this in practical. But in all these cases, we should come back to philosophy. We should come back to philosophy. In essence, is art of questioning ourselves. What is significance? And give up of all predetermined answers and try to put in this position. So in Buddhist tradition, in Zen tradition, when you encounter into the koan, you have no answer. It's the way a new idea, a new illuminations in the way it comes. So maybe the whole planet was in this koan situation. Maybe in the planet some people, or all of us, came to an illumination, not necessarily a spiritual illumination, but any kind of illumination. The questions was, I'm thinking in general distance similarity between religions and philosophy. Sometimes people ask me how you can be a Christian and doing philosophy. Well, being real Christians for me is to be in closeness of God, be in intimacy with God. So this is also to be philosophical, because to be Christians is not only to pray, to go to the church and to take confessions and community and so on, but is the importance of Orthodox Christianity, for instance, is to be there in God. And if you cannot find God in yourself, you cannot find God anywhere in the universe, not philosophically, not religiously and meditatively, but in any way. But if you can find God in yourself, in your heart, you can find God everywhere. So this is my beliefs. I thank you very much for this wonderful session.